Hi everybody, it's Andy and welcome again to my office in Modesto, California. I'm an attorney licensed to practice law in California as well as New York. In this video, I'm going to go over my second bar exam tip for those of you who are taking the bar exam. So in my first video, which I'll go ahead and link over here, I go over the concept of past exams. So perhaps you've discovered this, I guess, if you're preparing to take the test, that law school and bar prep are very, very different. In law school, you basically sit, you read a case, you talk about it a whole lot in class, and somehow in the midst of all of that, you're supposed to get a concept. You're supposed to learn something. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. For most people, I think it doesn't. Or maybe it works just a little bit or something. For bar exam prep, you generally can't do that. Bar exam prep, I think in my other video, I go over the analogy of like a doctor, an athlete, a soldier, a pilot, something like that, where practice is the way that you learn stuff. So I guess to put it this way, you don't learn to pass the bar exam by reading a book about it, talking about it, watching a video about it. You learn by practicing. You want to go and get sample exams, past exams, etc., and practice the timing, practice the process. So when it comes down to it, you can do it lickety split, I guess. Like you don't have to think about it. You don't have writer's block. You don't have panic. You're focused, you have a task, you do it, you pass, end of story. So that video, like I said, I'll link it over here and go ahead and take a look at it if you haven't seen it already. This video, however, I think is going to go over a much more kind of straightforward, simple concept, and it's about your laptop. So if you are like most exam takers, you are going to be taking the exam on a computer. Hopefully it's a laptop, I guess. Most of the time it's going to be a laptop that you just haul with you to the exam site on the days of. Very few people I've met actually write their exams out longhand, like pen on paper. You can; it's no big deal. I mean, I certainly don't mean to discourage you from doing that. But the vast majority of people I think who take exams, not only in California but in other states as well, do so on a laptop. And my recommendation, if you are one of these vast majority of people, is get yourself a dedicated laptop, hopefully a brand new one, with which to take the exam. If you have a laptop that you've had for years, that you do video editing on, that you have all sorts of software installed on, that you haul back and forth from home to work to school, etc., I would really recommend you not use that one for this reason, or two reasons, I guess. Number one is that if it's old, like you have hardware issues, I guess. Like if you've hauled it around, in the trunk of your car for years and years, it could be just one step away from breaking. Maybe the screen will go out, maybe the hard drive will crash, something like that. So mechanically, an older laptop is going to be not as reliable, especially if you've been hauling it around, dropping it, spilling stuff on it and stuff. So that's not something good. You don't want your laptop to crap out on you during the exam because your screen broke or because your keyboard stopped working, something like that. Number two, which is probably the bigger problem I think for most people, is if you've had a laptop for a while that you use for multiple different things, you're going to have all mannerisms of software installed on there. You're going to have antivirus software. You're going to have cloud storage software, Dropbox or Google Drive or something. You're going to have iTunes on there. You're going to have all this stuff running in the background that I guess I'm not sure what the right word for it is, but the thing is, all this stuff that runs in the background, there's a certain level of kind of autonomy to it. So, for example, stuff will be updating in the background. Things will be like programs will be running in the background that are meant to be conveniences for you, but the thing is, are oftentimes kind of a nuisance, I guess. And they are a nuisance, particularly when it comes to the bar exam, because when you're using the exam software, that software blocks off the computer, so the thing is, you can't simultaneously go online while you're taking the exam. When you're taking the exam, you're running the exam software, your laptop is basically, it's basically a typewriter. That computer does just one thing during the course of the exam. When you're doing the exam, you really do not want iTunes to all of a sudden be updating in the background. You don't want your antivirus software to suddenly, update in the background. You don't want pop-up ads, appearing in the background, because if they do, maybe there's no negative effect, or maybe they cause the exam software to crash, and then your computer has to reboot. And as you know from the exam kind of rules in most states, if your computer goes out, you don't get extra time. So if your computer goes out because some software that you have on there is trying to update, that might cost you 20 minutes. That might cost you 15 minutes. And during those 15 minutes, that could mean the difference between passing the test and not. So if you can afford it by any stretch of the imagination, go get yourself a laptop, go hopefully a brand new one that doesn't have a lot of other software kind of installed on it. Keep that computer kind of dedicated for bar exam use, and then after you pass the exam, take that computer, rotate it into your computer, or make that your daily use computer, I guess, and yeah, everything will be fine. But up until then, like, keep that computer like dedicated by itself. Maybe dedicate that just to bar exam practice. So my other recommendation, kind of a corollary to this, I guess, is that if you are going to get a separate computer to take the bar exam on, don't get it like the day before the exam. Get it, a month or two before the exam so you can practice on it as well. So ideally, you would take your exam software, run it, during your practice sessions, and get accustomed to the keyboard on the computer, get accustomed to how the mouse works, get accustomed to how the screen looks, etc. So the thing is, when it comes to time for the exam, you go in, you open the laptop, it's very familiar to you, you know how everything works, and on top of that, the software, like, you're not worried about software in the background suddenly trying to do some funky thing that will cause the computer to crash. So that said, I mean, that's basically the tip that I have, I guess. Some of you might be thinking that I am worrying about this too much and being kind of a worst case scenario Andy or something. When I took the exam in California in 2009, I had a very good friend of mine who was in my class who took the exam with me, and she did not pass the first time, and this was the reason. Her computer, for whatever reason, crapped out right in the middle of the test. She was not expecting it, and she ended up not passing. Brilliant person, fantastic, genius level person, easily smarter than me, and she didn't pass. She took it again, in the following February. Did pass, everything's fine, but it was something I think she would probably choose to do differently had she the opportunity to kind of do it again. So, like I said, hopefully that made sense. It's something where I think if you are taking the bar exam, hopefully the cost of getting a dedicated laptop on which to take it is not something that will be kind of beyond your means, I guess. So hopefully that made sense, like I said, and I will talk to you guys next time. Thanks.